Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Hare Krishna. So we'll just chant Mantracharya and then we'll start. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Yasapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadavahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padana Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vichancha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchani Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarvescha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Everyone can see my screen. Okay, and hopefully you can hear me clearly as well.
Yes, Prabhu.
Just before we start, as most of you know that His Holiness Kankan Maharaj is not well, so we'd like to dedicate this class and upcoming Kirtan tonight as well in the temple for his health. So if you can make it, that would be very nice. If you can't, just at your own place, please pray for Maharaj so that he can recover fast. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So last week we started from 724. Let's do a quick revision of this last section of the 7th chapter. Rasan and Prabhu, would you like to say a few things about 724?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
The translation of 7.2 talks about unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed that this personality. Due to the small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So this section is talking about demigod worship and impersonalist. 24 and 25th verse talks about the impersonalist structure, which one should not be following. So the word avyaktam means non-manifested. Krishna says that such person who is following impersonalists think that, from non-manifested person I have come. Vacuum. Vacuum means personality. So as from the non-manifested, I have been coming. That is from Brahman, Krishna came. So that's the philosophy that used by people who are here. Krishna calls them as unintelligent men. So they think that Supreme Personality of Godhead, it was impersonal before, but now he assumed that personality. So because of that kind of a knowledge, they are called abuddhya. That means they have less intelligent. Due to the small knowledge, they do not. So with that less intelligence, they do not know that personality, that he is the Param Bhava, he is the supreme, he is the supreme existence, because they do not know that knowledge. So, but then Krishna is telling what is he? Then he's saying his higher nature is imperishable and supreme. That is, he is avyam, that is imperishable, and he is the finest, or he is the supreme. So this is what that verse talks about. And so you were highlighting on the Mayavadi philosophy and what difference between Brahmavadi and Mayavadi last time. Brahmavadi basically are not offenders, but they are actually unaware of the form. While the Mayavadis, even though they think Krishna as a form, he is also in Maya. That's the philosophy. And you also highlighted about the Jagadish, Jagat, and Jiva. So Jagadish is talking about three modes of material nature you covered. Like Jagadish is the mode of goodness, and Jiva in passion, and Jagat is in ignorance. Like
Just adding on to that, Prabhuji.
yes, Prabhu.
So Jagdish is the Brahman contaminated with mode of goodness. So Brahman plus mode of goodness, that's they call it Jagdish.
Yeah, when Brahman and goodness. Yes, thanks.
Yeah. So same goes for the other two as well. So Brahman contaminated by mode of passion,
By mode
that
of
is
passion.
Jiva, and Brahman plus ignorance, mode of ignorance, is
All
called
of
the
it
Jagat.
called Jagat. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks,
Thank
Prabhu.
you. And this
Other things I covered. Guru Shastra, Guru Sadhu and Shastra. Even Guru says impersonalness reflects. They have written on that.
So we spoke about Mahatma Buddha as well.
Yeah, example Buddha. Yeah, example is given as Buddha.
So when Buddha comes and says everything, the
This
Vedas
impersonal.
rejected, we say we reject you, not the Vedas. The Shastra cannot be wrong. So Buddha says reject the Vedas. So although we consider Buddha as the incarnation of Krishna, but we say we reject Buddha. So if Krishna says, just the Vedas don't exist, we say no, Veda do exist. This particular statement will not follow. It's not a disrespect, it's just Krishna is testing. Sometimes father tests the kid. Sometimes say, oh, don't trust your father. Sometimes these statements are made. It's not the ultimate statement, but it's just for the context, for teaching the kid a particular thing. And father is teaching what the kid can take at that particular time. Yes, Prabhuji, please continue.
Okay, Prabhu. I think that's the point.
Okay.
So basically, this was talking about that these people do not know me because they think that I'm coming from unmanifested form.
Yeah.
But I am actually the imperishable and supreme. So Krishna tried to highlight his position here.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. And that philosophy which you are explaining, Jagdish, Jagat, and Jiva, they call it as Tattva Traya. So Tattva is the Tattva philosophy of Traya, three.
Yeah.
So philosophy of three. Anything else someone wants to add?
Bro, nothing to add but a question I have.
Okay.
Bro, as we discussed, based on their philosophy, when Brahman is contaminated with goodness, mode of goodness, you get Jagdish and then Jiva and then Jagat. So by logic, shouldn't Jagat be put above Jiva, which means Brahman plus ignorance should be Jiva, and Brahman plus passion should be Jagat.
Hare Krishna, can everyone go on mute, please? Thank you. No, Prabhu, Jagat, even if you read 7.3 or something, 7.4, you remember there's a Prakriti Ashtadha, I think 7.4, and 7.5 says there's a higher energy of mind. So Jiva is considered higher than Prakriti. Just 1 second. I think 7.5 or 6, can't remember. So Jiva is considered higher than Prakriti, but Prakriti is considered dead. So Jiva is a Tatastha Shakti. Prakriti is the Bahiranga Shakti, external energy. So Jiva is higher, which makes sense actually. So they also consider that. So Brahman plus passion is Jiva, and Brahman plus ignorance is Jagat. So Jagat is Jad in that sense. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And one more thing which I think we discussed for how that philosophy cannot be true, because Krishna says, this verse and 7:12 as well. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they on the contrary are within me. So Krishna is always the controller of the modes of material nature, not the other way. So their philosophy cannot hold truth. Sorry, someone started saying something. I missed.
No, Prabhu, here you also quoted a point like Krishna is calling the Mayavadi philosophers as Abuddhaya.
Yes, yes. No buddhi.
Abud-
So in previous verse, they say Alpa Buddhaya. Or if you go to demigods, as per Krishna, Alpa Buddhaya, little buddhi. But if you go to Mayavad, you are actually Abuddhaya. You have no intelligence because it is very monstrous philosophy. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Hoile Sarvanash. If you hear Mayavada Bhashya, Hoile Sarvanash, everything will be destroyed. Demigod worship is considered actually in mode of goodness. In 17th chapter, we'll read. But going towards Mayavad path is the end of everything, especially in the Bhakti Marga. Okay, thank you everyone. So let's move to 725, which is the second verse, as Rasanand Prabhuji said, regarding Mayavad. Charu Mataji, would you like to do that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'll just try.
Yeah.
Don't remember everything, but I'll try.
Me too, Mataji. I don't remember anything.
So 725 translation. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So this is the last from 725 to the end. This is the last section of this chapter. And in 714, Krishna gives the assurance that if you surrender to him, then you can go beyond Maya. But how does that happen is discussed from 725 to 730. So word for word translation is Naham Prakasha Sarvasva. Prakasha refers to manifest. So he says, I am not manifest to everyone. Yogamaya Samanvrita. I am covered by Yogamaya. Mudhoyam na abhijanati. So Mudho refers to fools. Na abhijanati means they do not know me, do not understand me. So fools do not understand me. And why they don't they understand me? So because loko mam ajam avyayam, because I am unborn and I am inexhaustible. So ajam refers to unborn and avyayam refers to inexhaustible. What I remember from last time is that here Krishna is talking about himself very clearly, because he says aham is repeated 2 times here, and he says that I am, he says, I do not manifest to everyone. And why is that? Because we spoke about rights last time. So we spoke about women having rights, different countries having different rights. So we only know about talk about rights. If us as common people can have rights, then Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he has the maximum rights. So he only reveals himself to those whom he thinks are who serve him and who do not have any ego, who do not have any or who have the service attitude. And I think that's all I remember from this one.
Okay, nice, Mataji. Anyone else want to add anything?
Yes, Prabhu.
Rupam Prabhuji?
I have one question.
Let's finish the verse first and then we can try to answer the questions. Rupam Prabhu, you have a question or explanation?
No, I was just adding one more point.
Yes, please.
Yes. So, Prabhu, we also learned that the concept of Yogamaya and that Krishna is covered by Yogamaya, but it's actually not real covering. And the example to understand that is the cloud and sun example, where when we say sun is covered by cloud, but that's what we see. In reality, it's actually sun is way above that. So cloud can, in practicality, it can't cover the sun itself. So that's and this covering is for us. This covering is due to Yogamaya, which is again Krishna's energy. We also learned the difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya. And yeah,
So, Prabhu, can you explain that, the difference between Yogamaya and Mahamaya?
So, Prabhu, in simple words, Yogamaya increases your devotion, whereas Mahamaya actually decreases your devotion.
Yes.
They both are Krishna's energy. Krishna uses Yogamaya to do his Leela when he personally is there, whereas Mahamaya is for jivas like us.
Conditioned jivas like us. So when we are covered by Mahamaya, we make mistakes. We forget Krishna.
Yeah.
And then we make mistakes and we think, we are the owner of this material world and we want to exploit and become the lead in the world. Yeah. But in terms of Yogamaya, they also want to lead Krishna. And many times these Gwal Sakhas are leading Krishna. They're saying, become Ghoda, become horse. If you don't become horse, you're out of the game. And Krishna does become horse. Huh?
Yeah.
Krishna forgets, what this Gwalbal is going to put in his mouth. They say, oh, Krishna, close your eyes. We've got some eatables for you. And they put flour in the mouth of Krishna. So all these things are happening under the direction of Yogamaya. But who's the script writer? Krishna is the script writer. So Krishna writes a script, hands it over, like very mundane example. I don't know, Amir Khan or someone making a movie. So he writes the script, he gives it to some a person, and then as per the person's direction, Amir Khan will be moving here and there in the movie. Sometime hero becomes unconscious. So it's all happening, but it's at the desire of the hero, of the script writer. And in this case, Krishna is the script writer, and Krishna is the hero as well. But who is the director? Is the Yogamaya is the director. So Yogamaya directs Krishna. Now, Krishna, you don't know what's coming in your mouth, and Krishna really don't know what's coming in the mouth. Huh? So you cannot say, oh, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I know everything. What are you going to put? You're going to put a flower in my mouth, not a laddu. So Krishna doesn't. It will stop the Leela with Yashodamaya many times. He covers Yashodamaya with Yogamaya. Huh? As you correctly said. So Yogamaya increases our devotion and Mahamaya decreases our devotion. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
One more point, Ajam and Avyay. So Charu Mataji nicely explained that, but we can add one more point on Ajam and Avyay. So Aja, Ajanma. So there is no Janma of Krishna, which refers to the beginning. So there is no beginning of Krishna. You cannot say, okay, I am, 70-year-old or something like that. Krishna is very, very old, very, very old, but sometimes, somewhere he would have started his journey. Sometimes. So as soon as you put the concept of time on Krishna, that means you are putting time above Krishna. But it's not like that. Krishna is about time. So when Krishna is about time, so there is no such a statement where we can say, oh, Krishna must be, 10 trillion years old or something like. We can't put a figure on that. We can't put figure. So it has to be. So Aja, and Avyay refers to no end. Like our bodies will end. So we all have a DOB, date of birth, and we'll all have DOE, date of expiry. Now we will not know. Someone else will come on our funeral. Maybe some of you will come. So we all have this DOE. We don't know, but it's there. But for Krishna, it does not exist. It does not exist. So Ajam and Avyay. So I am Aja and Avyay. I have no beginning and no end. And also one word important here. If you take shelter of this Mayavad philosophy, Krishna is calling you Abuddhaya in the first verse and Muda in the second verse. So what does Muda refers to? If you remember in 7:16, sorry, 7:15. What does Muda refers to?
Buddhu.
Buddhu means what? Works very hard for something which is readily available. So Mayavadi is working very, very hard, very, very hard. But Shrama eva hi kevalam. At the end of the life, all they will achieve is Shrama, Parishram. Lot of labor, lot of hard work, but they did not achieve something which is worth achieving. So both verses, Krishna is condemning this philosophy and the followers of this philosophy. Abuddhaya and Muda. You're just working very, very hard for nothing. Okay, that's about it. Now, Ujjwala Samataji, you had a question?
Yes, Prabhu. So just one little point I wanted to add.
Sure.
That one, you mentioned that how we cannot demand to see God. It's only by our service attitude and our humble attitude we can know Krishna.
Yes.
That's one point. And my question was about, how it is mentioned, Krishna says that I'm covered by my internal potency. So my understanding was that Krishna is covered by his internal potency when there is a Leela going on.
Yes.
So why the unintelligent and foolish people can't see God? It's because they are covered by Mahamaya. So in like we gave the example of sun and the cloud. So
Yes.
when the cloud covers the sun, it's not actually the sun which is covering the cloud, but our vision is covered due to the cloud. So in
Yes.
that case, because the sun is not covered by the cloud, why does Krishna say that I'm covered by my internal potency when the internal potency is usually covering Krishna when there is a Leela going on?
Yeah, very nice.
It is a
Yeah.
vision which is covered.
Yeah, so as Rupam Prabhu also explained, very nice example, which Prabhupada used to give, that the cloud and the person and the sun. So similar example, and Mataji's question is quite valid. Why Krishna is saying, I'm covered? So Mataji's simple answer is, as per Ishopanishad as well, Ishopanishad verse 15, where Krishna says, I'm covered. So Krishna is obviously higher than the covering. Krishna is controlling the covering, whether it's Mahamaya or Yogamaya. But you know, Krishna, like a mother can go behind a curtain when child is looking for the mother. Mama, where are you? Where are you? So mother goes behind the curtain. So mother is sort of hiding behind the curtain. So Krishna says, I hide myself behind Yogamaya. Now, Krishna technically cannot use the word Mahamaya. Can Mahamaya cover the Krishna? Cannot. Now Yogamaya does. So Krishna is like literally saying, I'm under Yogamaya, you cannot find me. Is basically referring to those Mayavadis who thinks the Teja of Krishna, the Brahma Jyoti around Krishna is everything, is all in all. So Krishna says, I'm covered behind it. You can't see me. Why? Because you are Mudha, because you are Abuddhaya. You cannot understand that I'm a person behind that big Brahma Jyoti. Is that okay? So although he's the controller, but he's behind it. He's the controller. And if he desires so, he can uncover himself as he likes.
Okay.
Okay. Let's move to 726. Prasannatma Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Would you like to do this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. 26.
Hare Krishna.
26, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The Supreme, O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that have happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all the living entities, but me, no one knows. So, Vedaham Samatitani. So, Samatitani is present, Vartaman is past, and Bhavishya.
Sorry,
So, what
Prabhuji,
is
other
saying?
way. So, Vartaman is present and Atit
Sorry,
is...
sorry. Yeah, Vartaman is
That's okay.
present. Samatitani, Vedaham Samatitani. Okay. And Bhavishya is future. So, Mam tu Vada Nakashana. So, he says that he knows past, present, and future, but the living entities doesn't know him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what example he gives?
So basically, Krishna is proving his supremacy over the jivas in this particular verse, that he knows everything. Anyone else remember a similar verse in Bhagavad Gita elsewhere? Where Krishna talks about a similar sort of concept. Not exactly same, but similar.
2 point. The second
4.5, Prabhu.
4.5, yes, thank you. Thank you, Rasan and Prabhuji. 4.5, Krishna talks about it. He's telling Arjuna, you forget, I don't. And here he's saying, I know past, present, future. And I think someone said 2.12 as well. Not Vaham Jatuna, some sort of, you can take it together. 4.5 is very close, actually. 4.5 is the closest to this particular verse. The Krishna is saying, I don't forget anything you do. Why? Krishna doesn't forget. Why? Because 4.9, Janm Karm Chame Divyam. And Baldev Vidyabhushan translates that word Divya as alaukik. Alaukik means beyond the material world, beyond the conception, imagination of the jivas like you and me. We cannot imagine all this. Someone lifting a hill. Now we cannot lift even, a 10 kilo of potato bag for, 10, 15 minutes. It hurts. But Krishna can do that. And that's why it's called Divya. Okay, and last line says, Mam tu Vedna, I know everything, but no one knows me. Kaschan, even very little. Okay, 727 and 20 are the very important verses. Madhuri Mataji, would you like to do one?
Yes, Prabhu. In this, again, it is continuing the same section, establishing the supremacy of Bhagavan Krishna. So here it says like all the duality.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Maybe we can read the proper translation.
Yes, Prabhu. Translation, O Shayan of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. So here it says like Icha Dvesha Samuthena. So there are dualities. There are how many like dualities like Sukha, Dukkha, Man, Apman, Shita, Ushna. So these all are the dualities that we get, and these are arised from desire and hatred. So here it says Icha and Dvesha Samuthena. So it is coming arisen from Icha is desire and Dvesha is hatred. Dvandva Mohena.
So can we expand on this word Icha and Dvesha a little bit more? So you have translated it, that's fine.
Yeah. Desire, bewildered.
Just
desire
Icha and Dvesha.
Yeah, desire and hatred. So it is these are the two qualities by which we get living entities are bewildered.
So what do you mean by Icha and Dvesha? So in the spiritual sense, what we can say, Icha, in the spiritual world I'm talking about, Icha to serve Krishna.
Icha to serve.
I'm sort of cooperating in the Leela of Krishna and I do what Krishna likes me to.
What is envious in contrast?
And envious means I'm envious of the position of Krishna. Why all the gopis are going behind Krishna? They're not coming behind me. Why everyone is not giving me the supreme position? Why they are giving this position to Krishna? And that's one of the reasons why we fell down. That's in the spiritual world. In the material world, what does Icha and Dvesha mean on a day-to-day life?
Icha refers to desire to enjoy separate from Sri Krishna.
Yeah.
And Dvesha can refer to resentment or the hatred about Krishna's position as the enjoyer.
Very good.
So what we mean, Icha generally we mean the desire for things we like, and Dvesha also means the dislike for things we do not like.
Thank you, Mataji. So when an object which I like, for example, comes in front of me, a gulab jamun or rasmalai, very nice. And when a Karela sabji or something comes, not that I hate Karela, I like Karela, but something which I don't like, which I dvesha. So this is something which is pleasurable for me. Now the object can exactly be same. Someone else may like it, someone else may dislike it, and I may be other way. So when we get in association of the things which we like, that is called Icha, pleasurable. Now that's very nice. And something which we don't like, that is called Dvesha. I don't want this person. I don't want this thing. I don't want this situation. I don't like this color, that color. That's all apriya, what we don't like. So pleasurable and unpleasurable.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So here desire and hate means from a spiritual perspective, desire is anything which is which develops our devotional service toward Krishna, and it is favorable for Krishna consciousness, and hatred is which is taking away from Krishna. Whereas from a material perspective, it is quite opposite. Desire is to just enjoy our material senses without where there is no Krishna there, and hatred is also again against Krishna consciousness. Any desire towards against Krishna consciousness, hatred. So here Dvandva Mohena Bharata, it is like, we have a dualities. Sarva Bhutani Samoham. So as I told, there are dualities like Sukha, Dukha, Man, Apman, and then Shita, Ushna. So these kind of things are Sarva Bhutani. It is like for all the living entities, it is bewildered. Sammoham is like bewildered while taking birth. So this is what Krishna is saying here, continuing in this verse.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So now how to get rid of this, we'll explain into the next verse. Jai Prakash Prabhu, would you like to do that?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, sorry, I was in the program last time, I couldn't.
Okay, no worries. Sundar Gopal Prabhu, if possible for you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I can try, Prabhu. I did not take much notes on this one, unfortunately. But I'll try. So translation is persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So Prabhu, in this one, we said if you want Dvandva, Moha, Vibhakta, then we need to get out of the dualities, which is pretty much what Mataji just mentioned. and do some punya karma. Similar to, I think I've just made reference to Mrigari when Narad Muni sent first break your bow and then do the next thing. So in terms of the Sanskrit words, I can try Yesham to Antagatam. So basically completely eradicated. Papam Jananam Punya Karma. So basically the sin of the persons and Punya means the pious. Te Dvandva Moho Nirmukta. So basically, again, we're talking about the duality. So Te is they, Dvandva is a duality, and Moho Nirmukta is like of the delusion, free from the delusion. And Bhajante Mam Dridata. So they engage in the devotional service to me with the whole determination.
Thank you, Prabhu. Just one thing which we may add here. So there's a hierarchy given here. So the first one they are saying Antagatam Papam. So the lowest hierarchy is what we must stop. Antagatam Papam. We should not involve in sinful acts. So what is the example, say, what Prabhupada gave in this regards? 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, and all that. That is what someone said, Prabhupada, I'm following this 4 principles. And Prabhupada's response was, even a pigeon is vegetarian. So just being vegetarian doesn't mean you become a devotee. So Prabhupada said, they are just for becoming human being. That doesn't make you devotee. What makes you devotee on top of that is doing devotional service to Krishna. So we can understand this Antagatam Papam very clearly. And also, as Prabhuji gave a nice example of Mrigari, Narad Muni said, I'll look after you, but first what you have to do, break your bow. And Krishna also, if you see in 1866, Sardarvan Pratyajamamikam Sharanam Raja. So Am Tam Sarpapi Mokshayim Masucha. So it's Krishna saying, just give up all the dharmas. So first thing what basically Krishna is telling in this particular verse, the hierarchy, the first hierarchy is Antagatam Papam. And then what you have to do, okay, I don't eat meat or alcohol and all those things. But what's the next thing I have to do? Jananam Punya Karmanam. So you have to be involved in Punya Karma. What's the definition of Punya and Papa? From a spiritual perspective, now material perspective, we know. You should not hurt someone, we should not lie and all that. That's called Pap. But when you help someone with medicines or finance or something like that, that's called Punya. That's a material, mundane definition. What's the spiritual definition of Papa and Punya? Sometimes our Punya, material Punya, can also misdirect us in spirituality, misdirect us. Because I'm so Punyavan, I'm such a great donor, that's what I feel, that I will not go to Krishna. I have millions of dollars in my bank account, and every month, only because of me, this temple is running. I sponsor all the fees. I sponsor all the dresses. I am so great. I'm doing a nice activity, but I have ego of being the doer of that activity. So that may at least, not will, may stop me taking true shelter of Krishna. In name I may, because you are such a big donor, for example, and there can be so many other things as well. So what is the definition of Punya, real definition of Punya? The activity which takes you towards Krishna. Simple. This definition was given by His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj when he was giving a class in Sydney. I really liked it. Very simply Maharaj spoke. Any activity which takes you away from Krishna is Pap, and activity which takes you towards Krishna is Punya. So simple, so sensible definition Maharaj gave. So here Punya you can take the people who are doing devotional services to Krishna. So what will be the result of this two? The next hierarchy, Dvanda Moha Nirmukta. Because if you are under the Dvanda and Moha, how can you understand Krishna? How can you be steady in your devotional life? So stop the Papa, get involved in devotional service, and then what will the result? Dvanda Moha Nirmukta. Not Mukta, it is Nirmukta. Nirmukta means completely eradicated, completely. Sarva Dharmanu Parityaja. It's not Tyaja, it's Parityaja, completely given up. So Te Dvanda Moha Nirmukta. And then finally say, Bhajante Mam Dradhavrataha. Dradha means very steady, situated. It's not like we have to beg, Prabhuji, you should chant 1 round. Acha, I'll think about it. And then one day this person chants 1 round and he comes to the temple with a broad chest. I have chanted one round. And then next 4 months, no rounds. One day he does a lot of devotion service and then no service at all. So all these fluctuations which happens in all of our life. Now, it may not be in terms of number of rounds. It may be in terms of our internally falling down or not falling down, to be very honest. Jananda Maharaj was saying, His Holiness Jananda Maharaj was saying in the class, he was saying, we fall down multiple times in a day. We talk about, oh, sannyasi fell down, this and that. Maharaj is like, we all fall down multiple times a day. And we all know that. Sometimes with our eyes, sometimes with our ear, sometimes with our tongue, we speak some very harsh words. We speak some which hurts someone's heart. So we fall down. With eyes, we can think at least, oh, I wish I could enjoy this particular eatables or a cloth or whatever else. With the ear, we can hear, "Ye gana bahut acha hai. This song is so nice." And then you start murmuring that song. You remember, oh, I should be murmuring this. I should be murmuring Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So Maharaj is saying very practically, we fall down so many times. So it's not one big fall down. It's multiple small fall downs, which keeps happening. So we are not doing steady devotion. And how we are not able to do steady devotion? Go back. Antagatam Papam doesn't exist. We are not only performing punya, we are performing other activities as well. We are all mixed at this stage, at least I am. And we are not out of this Dvanda and Moha. We still feel someone praises us, we feel so good. Yes, actually, Prabhuji, you are right. I am so great. If someone says some harsh words, we become disturbed, at least in our heart. We probably may not say on the face, but we become disturbed. How come this person is telling me this? I'm so senior. I'm so intelligent. I've been doing so many services. I've done so much donation in the temple. You telling me I'm not correct? So this is called Dvanda actually. This is Dvanda. This is not out of Dvanda. This is Dvanda. So just a complete hierarchy. And because of that, Dradvrata is not there. Dradvrata. Speaking when devotee is saying, I can give up my life, but cannot give up Mangala Aarti. And I have seen him doing it for at least 5-6 years, and he has been doing it for many years. So you can understand what sort of determination he has for Mangala Aarti. So all of us, we can judge our own heart, how much determination we have for the aspect which Prabhupada told us, which our Guru Maharaj is telling. So we are not so, our Guru Maharaj says, we are devotees, but we are weak devotees. He calls us weak devotees. We are devotees, but we are weak devotees. We should become strong devotees. How do you become a strong devotee? A stable devotee, Dradvrata devotee, who is following this sort of sutra formula. Very nice verse. An example, Shukdev Goswami gives this example. I don't remember the verse, to be honest, in 10th canto. When Gwal Bals are playing with Krishna and sort of making Krishna horse or something which is subordinate to their position, Shukdev Goswami praises these friends of Krishna as how much punya these souls have done in unlimited previous lives. So they are able to play with Krishna, they're able to make Krishna their subordinate. So Shukdev Goswami is profusely praising Gwal Bals. What a great fortune they have. Aho bhagyam. Nanda Gopa Rujakusam, tan mitram paramanandam, Purna Brahma Sanatanam. Shukdev Goswami is just profusely praising, aho bhagyam, what a bhagya, what a fortune these people have, who doesn't even have shoes. And what we call as fortune as how many investment properties you have, how much bank balance you have, how good you look, how good you speak, how many people you can influence around, how many people think you as a center of attraction. That's our barometer. Just normally saying, not everyone. So that's our barometer. Even in our heart, we feel like that. If someone praises us, we feel great about it. So we all like to hear a Swakatha, not Krishna Katha, many times, if not all the time. Swakatha. This is so nectar when someone praises me. So we have to come out because we are not doing Krishna Katha properly or not enough. That's why we like Swakatha. Meri Katha honi chahiye. I should be talked about because I am so good. Why? The reason is because we are not doing Krishna Katha enough. If we do enough Krishna Katha, the tendency of Swakatha will go. I'm not so great. I'm not so important. If no one bothers me, that's so nice of them. I also want to serve you. That's all it is about. So this verse is very nice. Very nice. So we can take at least few points and apply as much as possible. And as we discussed, it's a journey. We'll all fall down. That's all right. Every child, when he starts walking, he falls. That's okay. But parents help. So who is our parent here? Our Guru, devotees, Vaishnavas, our help. We keep taking their shelter, take shelter of holy name, take shelter of Shastra. Eventually, we will also become Dradvrata, and all the pap will go. All the pap will go. Okay, nice.
Prabhu, can I say something?
Please, Mataji.
I was just listening to Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's class on this verse,
Yes.
and he makes some very beautiful points. One of them was about falling down. He said that we fall down just all the time, just something you mentioned. So just reiterating the same thing. But one of the examples I remember is that he says, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. So we said during our Bhagavatam class, we're constantly reciting this verse. This is how we start our Bhagavatam class. But if you really think about it, it just says that you have to, when you start serving the Bhagavat as in person and the books, that's when the abhadra in our body, in our mind, in our hearts just goes away. And gave a really beautiful example. He says that our heart is illumined only with bhakti, only when we come in contact with such bhaktas, or we associate with devotional devotees or practitioners who are really, really serious. The example he gave was when you try to light a fire, then you try to light it. If the wood is dry, then the fire lights immediately. But if the wood is even little bit wet, then no matter, even if you are in contact with a very elevated devotee, the wood will not light fire at all because there is wetness in it. So he says that in order for the wood to catch fire, it has to be dried. And that, how can we dry it? By constantly being in contact with such devotees, so that our abhadra gets it gets slowly diminished in our body. I thought that example was so good. And as we keep associating with these people, as we keep serving the Bhagavatas in form of book and in form of devotees, then slowly the desire to be the center of everything just diminishes, and the wood becomes drier and drier, and then it can catch fire. Thought it was a very, very important and beautiful point he made. Only he said it more eloquently. I'm just paraphrasing his words.
Yes, very nice. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing. It's very nice. So wet wood versus dry wood. We should remember that. And I'll just add one more point, Mataji, by Chaitanya Prabhu. He says, what is this wet wood? Wetness is our material desires. Huh? I want to, enjoy this house or this car or whatever, fame and this and that. That is our wetness. So we should sort of analyze our wetnesses. My Guru Maharaj said in one of the classes, just on the same point, he said, we should write all our abhadras. Whatever negative points you have, write it down. And he said, I know the wall will not be enough because we have so many. And he says, just focus on one. So suppose, we have 500 or whatever, just focus on one for one day. Today, I will not speak harsh. Just 1 point, not 500 points. You can't remove 500 in one day. No? Focus 1 point, one day. I'll not speak anything which hurts someone. Just today, focus on one. Focus on one. Next day, focus on another one. Next day, focus on another one. Slowly by practicing, you'll see. Maharaj said, one day wall will be empty. Huh? Because you have cut off, you have practiced, you have become good at it. I heard a small boy, maybe 4 or 5-year-old boy. I got some video from someone. He was saying, whatever you practice, you become good at it. If you practice complaining, you'll become very good at it. Huh? If you keep complaining about things around you, you'll become very good at it. And then even if there's no point of complaint, you will still complain. You practice speaking harsh, you become very good at it. Huh? You will hurt every single person with your speech. Huh? So he gave multiple examples, but he's literally a small boy. I really like that video. Huh? So he says, practice gratitude. Huh? Practice gratitude. Practice positive speaking. And then you become good at it. Even if you don't like it, speak positively. Huh? Behave properly. And you'll become good at it. It's very nice. Thank you, Charu Mataji, for sharing that example.
Prabhu, just one quick question.
Yes, Mataji.
When we talked about this piety, you mentioned about this mundane and spiritual piety. So so it's kind of clear to me, but I'm just thinking whether it should be a spiritual piety, yes. But does mundane piety at all have a role to play, or it is not counted at all?
Not at all, not at all. And as I said, sometimes it becomes a blocker as well. So we'll read in Nectar of Devotion, Mataji, if I'm not wrong, 4th or 5th chapter, Bhakti is completely independent, and this point will be discussed. Even mundane piety, it's not needed. Because ahetu kiya pratihata ye atma suprasidati. Which sadhu will give you mercy is not based on how pious you are, how impious you are. So it's not. Bhakti is completely independent of any material activity.
Okay, thank you.
Like one example which comes to my mind, Mataji, is very popular. Ratnakar Daku, he came in contact with Narad Muni. He wasn't a pious person. He was extremely impious person. He got the mercy of Narad Muni. Huh? So if piety was the prerequisite to get the bhakti or a boon from a sadhu, then why Ratnakar got it? He didn't get it because he was pious. He was extremely impious, and that's how he got attention of Narad Muni. Mrigari, same thing, extremely impious. So piety cannot be the prerequisite for performing bhakti. Bhakti is completely independent. Rupa Goswami will explain that in a whole chapter in Nectar of Devotion.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Nice points coming out. That's what we want. 7:29 and 7:30. Maybe Vijay Gopi Mataji, would you like to do one?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm hearing some. Priya Mataji.
Oh, sorry, Prabhu. I mean, if, I can read the next one.
Okay, Mataji, your voice is very low. Can you speak a little louder? Hare Krishna.
Hear me?
Okay, I think I can. It's very, very low voice coming. If you could speak louder, maybe come close to your laptop or phone. Okay, we can't hear you, Mataji. Okay, I think by the time Mataji is probably setting herself, we will just continue. 7:29. Yes, Mataji.
Can I continue, Prabhu? Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Text 29.
Okay. Can you hear me? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, we can hear you now. Maybe you can do the next one. I think Vijay Gopi Mataji has already started.
Sure, Prabhu, no problem.
Yeah, thank you.
So, text 29. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. So these texts 29 and 30 is the connection to the 8th chapter. So here Jara is like the old age and Marana is death and Moksha is liberation. So the one who wants to get who just want to get rid of these three things will take shelter of Krishna, that Mam Ashrita. Mam Ashrita is taking shelter of Krishna. So for that, they endeavor. That is, they work harder to, they are the intelligent persons. Like, for example, you were quoting about Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. They were like asking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm not very intelligent because I'm not able to know what is the reason for my old age and death. So, in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased about their questions. So we have to endeavor to know the reason why we are getting this old age, death, and all. How do we get to know about this? Is by taking shelter of Krishna and endeavoring to take shelter of Krishna. So once by doing this, then we can know about everything, that what are the transcendental activities we have to follow and all those things. Sorry, Prabhu, this is what.
That's okay. That's okay. Just on the Yatanti, as Mataji explained, we have to endeavor. So bhakti is not something which is passive, which many people coming from Indian background think about. Bhakti means sab kuch chhod diya. You give up everything, become a sadhu baba. No, it's nothing like that. Krishna is saying yatanti, yatan, endeavor. You have to do lot of yatan, lot of endeavor to achieve me. You cannot just, change your external dress and expect Krishna will just get cheated by our external color of our dress and all the so-called sadhus will go back to Godhead. It doesn't work that way. Even in the material world, Uddimeni Siddhyanti Karyani na Manorathaiha. Even in the material world, to achieve anything, you have to work hard. Even it's normal, mundane thing. And in this country, you have to go to kitchen to get a glass of water. If you don't go, the glass of water does not, walks towards you. Hare Krishna, please accept me in your service. It doesn't happen. We wish glass of water and paneer ka sabji and nice puris come in our plate straight away. It doesn't work that way. Huh? We have to work pretty hard just to get little mundane things, to get a job, to pay the mortgage, to maintain the house, insurance, and so many things. So Krishna is just not the last thing in the menu. He is the first thing in the menu. And the first thing means foremost thing, we have to work very hard for it. So bhakti is a very active process. And that's what Prabhupada taught all of us, not to sit idle. Keep engaged yourself in Krishna's service. And the form will vary from person to person, and that's okay. So mam ashrite, very, very important line. If you want to get rid of jara and maran, old age and mrityu and death, what you have to do, mam ashrite. And how do you take mam ashray? Don't just go and sit under him. No, serve Krishna. Yatanti. Te Brahm tad vidu Krishnam. They have understood everything. Adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. So what sort of activities they are doing? Karma. They are doing adhyatma karma. Spiritual activity. That's what Prabhupada said. We spiritualize every activity. We go to work. That's also a spiritualized work. We may use a mundane suit and tie and car and all that. That's fine. But that activity may look same. It's not the same. It's very different. It's a spiritualized activity. Okay, last verse, 730. Priya Mataji, Hare Krishna. Charu Mataji wanted to add something?
Oh no, just wanted to say that 2 more words has been added on this. 2
Yes.
more types of devotees have been added to this,
Okay,
to
you
the
want
previous list of devotees.
You want to add that here?
That the Brahma and Vidu Krishnam, which are connected to chapter 8.
Yes,
That's
yes.
all.
We'll
I
be
mean,
reading that.
nothing very important.
Yeah. No, we'll be reading these words again by Arjun, and Krishna will respond what these words are. Thank you, Mataji. Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can
Hare
you hear me?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, we are driving, so I couldn't
Yeah.
put my camera.
No problem.
Prabhuji, did you want me to read the translation?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Okay. So, those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all the methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So, Prabhuji, you mentioned that these 3 things which they have introduced in this verse. Krishna has introduced Adi Bhuta and Adi Deva and Adi Yanam. So these 3, the 3 things. So one who knows me, where they are saying Mam and Vidu. So basically, Adi Bhuta was the governing principle of the material manifestation. Adi Devam is I'm the governing principle of all the demigods, and then Adi Yanam is I'm the governing method of all sacrifices. So, and then Prayane Kale Pi Chamam. So this one is saying that at the time of death, even at the time of death. So Prayana Kale Pi Cham. So if you remember these principles at the time of death, you will be able to say Te Vidur Yukta Chetasa. So you'll be able to engage your mind on me at the time of death. So that's what I had, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Very nice. So we'll finish this 7th chapter now. So let's go to the 8th chapter. And before we do that, let's look into this our MIG guidelines. So 8th chapter. So 8th chapter is known in sense as Akshara Brahma Yoga. So attaining the Supreme, that's what Prabhupada called it, attaining the Supreme. So how do you attain the Supreme? So this whole chapter will talk about that, attaining the Supreme, especially at the time of death. So we'll see the first 2 verses here, verse 1 and 2, are the questions of Arjuna, which as Vijay Gopi Mataji was saying, is related to 729 and 730, where Krishna is sort of putting some words, and Krishna and Arjun will say, hang on a second, can you please expand on these words? And Krishna will expand on these words. And in that, the most important part was, I'll just go 7:30, as Priya Mataji was just explaining, Prayan Kale Chapi Mam Te Vidaryut Chesa. So how do you remember Krishna at the time of death? So practically whole chapter 8, after first 4 verses, will be the expansion of that one question, Prayan Kale Apicha Mam. How do you remember Krishna at the time of death, and what happens if you don't, and some other aspects of it. And just look at this chapter 8 here. So Krishna's answers and Arjuna's questions is 1 to 4. So actually Krishna's answer continues. So Arjun asked 8 questions. So 8 questions, I think 5 in verse 1 and 3 in verse 2. And then Krishna in verse 3 and 4, which is this and that, answers 7 questions of Arjuna, just 1 question left. And that 1 question will take over the whole chapter, basically from 5 onwards. So out of 8 questions, Krishna responds 7 questions in 2 verses, 3 and 4. But 1 question, Prayan Kale Chipimam, how do you remember Krishna at the time of death, will be explained in practically the whole chapter 8. So that's this one. So 5 to 9 is remembering Krishna, like you can say a direct explanation by Krishna. And then Krishna talks about different types of devotees. Yoga Mishra Bhakta, which is 10 to 13, which is, as you can understand from the term itself, Yoga Mishra. So there is a Mishra, there is a mixture of yoga as well. And pure devotion service, also known as Keval Bhakta. Keval Bhakta means they have no other motive to serve Krishna except to please Krishna. Ahetuki apratihata. Now comparing the material and spiritual words and then remembering Krishna. So sometimes, you find different products in the market. Suppose you have a fridge or any such thing like that, and you go in the market to buy a better fridge. But what happens after your analysis of the market, you find actually your fridge is better than the available fridges in the market, right? So you come back to it, but after analyzing, so many times we have to understand the material nature just to appreciate the spiritual world. It happens many times. Gar ki murgi dal barabar. So many times, what we have, we consider it, it's not so valuable. In the market, there must be something good. No. When you go to the market, you find out actually, no, what you have is the best. So comparing material and spiritual nature, Krishna will explain how the material nature is temporary and how the spiritual nature is permanent, eternal. Now Krishna expands 23 to 28 as supremacy of devotion in attaining the supreme. And here also there's a nice verse, I think it's 27 or 28th verse, where Krishna says, no matter how much Vedas you have studied, how much Dan you have done, that will not make you achieve Krishna. Only devotion is the key to achieve Krishna. So it's a very nice chapter. It's a small chapter. It only has 28 verses, but very, very important verses. So let's start chapter 8.1. And as I said, 1 and 2 is the questions of Arjun. Who hasn't done any verse today? He can do. Akhand Dasa Prabhu, he's probably hasn't spoken today.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Chapter 8, verse 1. Kim tad brahma kim abhyamantam
So
kim
Arjuna
karma
Uvacha,
purushottamam.
Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam. So the word is adhyatmam.
Kim karma purushottamam.
Kim karma purushottama.
Abhibhutam cha kim proktam.
Adhibhutam cha kim proktam.
Adhidaivam kim uchyate.
Adhidaivam kim uchyate.
Translation. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So you can say different Sanskrit words are given, and then Prabhupada has given the translation. So we'll just read the Sanskrit words for now. Kim tad Brahma, that Brahma which you just spoke, just 2 verses before Krishna spoke this word Brahma. Kim tad Brahma, what is that Brahma? So Prabhupada writes, O Supreme Person, what is the Brahman? Kim adhyatmam. So adhyatmam Prabhupada translates as self. What is that self which you spoke? So the Krishna used the word adhyatma. So how many questions are there? So far, Brahma and adhyatma. That's the question of Arjuna. Kim karma. What is the karma? Purushottama. So Purushottama is the best of the persons, is referring to Krishna. So 3 questions are asked by Arjun. Kim Brahma, Kim Adhyatmam, Kim Karma. 3 questions. Next is Adhibhutam Chakim Proktam. Adhibhutam. What is this Adhibhuta? Proktam. You just spoke this word. Proktam is bolna. You have just spoken. Adhibhutam and Adhidevam. Kim Uchate. And what is this Adhidevam? So how many questions we have done? Brahma, Adhyatmam, Karma, 3. Adhibhutam, Adhideva, 3 plus 2, 5 questions Arjun is asking in verse 8.1. Now let's go to the next one. Who else would like to do? Raghavi Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Adi yajnah katham ko.
Ko atra.
Adi yajnah katham ko. Tradhesmin madhusudhana.
Dehesmin Madhusudana.
Prayana kale cha katham.
Prayana kale cha katham.
Jnyosi niyatatma bhi.
Geyosi niyatatma bhi.
Who is the Lord of sacrifice and how does he live in the body, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death?
Thank you, Mataji. So in the previous verse, let me put it on the screen. So it's all interconnected actually. So 8.1, he asked Adhibhutam and Adhideva, but Krishna had used 3 terms in 730, and the third was Adhiyagya. So Arjuna asking Adhiyagya Katham Kuatra. So please tell me about Adhiyagya. And then Dehes mean Asmin Dehes. Asmin mane this one, Dehe, in this Deha. Ko Atra, who resides in this Deha? Madhusudana obviously is referring to Krishna. Why Madhusudana? Anyone remembers the meaning of Madhusudan?
The killer of the doubts or ignorance.
Thank you. So Madhu is like a very strong demon which Krishna could kill. So is requesting Krishna, as you have killed that strong demon Madhu, I also have a strong demon in my mind of this question of doubt. Please kill this. So Madhusudan is very appropriate glorification of Krishna. So Adhiyagya Katham Ko Atra. So there's 2 more questions. And the last question, which is the 8th one, is Prayan Kale Cha Katham Geyo. So Prayan Kal means Antakal. When we are leaving the body, that's called Prayan Kal. Katham Geyo. How do I know? Niyat Atmi. Niyat Atmi, Prabhupada writes it by the self-control, by the people who are engaged in devotional service. How do they know Geya? You at the time of death. So these are the 8 questions. So 5 questions in 8.1. 3 questions in 8.2, which Arjun is asking back to Krishna after hearing 729 and 730. Arjun is a bit confused. Now if you go to 8.1, you can say, why Arjun is asking about Brahma? Everyone knows Brahma, eternal entity. Why he's asking about karma? So we should not just think, oh, Arjun has forgotten all the definitions and he's just a naive person. No, not like that. It is, these words are spoken in a particular context. And that is what Arjun is clarifying. So the context in the previous chapter was Te Dvanda Mohanirmukta Bhajante Mantrarvata. That's what Krishna was saying. I'll just put 730 as well on the screen. So we all know what are we talking here. So Prayan Kale Chapi Mam Te Vidur Yukta Chesa. So they know me very well, who can remember me at the time of death. So it is spoken in a particular context, and then Arjun is just clarifying those terms. Not that Arjun doesn't know what does karma mean. Anyone knows what does karma translate with as per chapter 4, which we read earlier? So karma has multiple layers of meaning.
Activities done as per the Veda, directions of Veda.
Thank you. That's one meaning. Another meaning of karma?
Reaction to whatever.
Reaction. Karma phal bhugat rahe hai. You know, sometimes in the hospital you say, what are you doing here? I'm suffering my karma. Karma means here the bad actions. More? The cycle of action and reaction. Karma is very strong. That's a cycle of action and reaction. Also, karma refers to the pious activity sometimes. Do your karma or do your prescribed duties. The karma has multiple meaning. So Arjun is not aware of those meanings, but Arjun is just re-emphasizing his question so that he can clarify his understanding. Let's go to 8.3 and see the response of Krishna. So 3 and 4, Krishna will respond 7 questions of Arjun, and 1 question will cover from 8.5 onwards. So 8.3. Rupam Prabhu, want to do that?
Yes, bro. Aksharam Brahma Paramam
Aksharam Brahma Paramam
Swabhavodhyatmam Uchyate
Swabhavo Adhyatmam Uchyate
Bhuta Bhavodbhava Karo
Bhavodbhava Karo
Visagraha Karma Samgitaha.
Visarga Karma Sangitaha.
Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental, living entity called Brahman and its eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So here Krishna is responding some of the terminology. So the first question of Arjun was, what is this? Brahma. So Brahma here, now as we know, there are 2 Brahma, the same Brahma, but one is the superior one, which is called Parabrahma or Bhagavan, and one is Brahma. So when we say Aham Brahmasmi, it's completely true. We are also Brahman. So here, this Brahma, as per Prabhupada's translation here, refers to the living entity. So Aksharam, this living entity, Akshara, so Shara in Akshara, Shara refers to one who does Chaya, who gets destroyed. Akshara does not get destroyed. Paramam refers to transcendental. So Krishna defines these Brahma as transcendental, indestructible, living entity. So what's the meaning of Brahma? Prabhupada writes, indestructible, which is Akshara, transcendental, which is Paramam Brahma, living entity, is called Brahman. So that's the first answer of Arjuna's question. Second, what was Adhyatmam? So here Krishna says, Adhyatma is what? Swabhavo Adhyatmam Uchyate. So Swabhava, as we know, we call each other Swabhava. Uska Swabhava bahut harsh hai. He has a very harsh nature, or he has a very soft nature. So what is Adhyatma? His eternal nature is called Adhyatma. Suppose you're a very devotional minded person, so your Swabhava can be called as Adhyatma. But if you're a very materially inclined person, will you call that person as a very highly advanced spiritualist? No, you will not. So unless you do this spiritual activities, some devotional activity for Krishna. So same thing is used here, Swabhava. So we can have an external Swabhava, which is the Swabhava of the body, you can say. Body in that sense doesn't have a Swabhava, but a person's Swabhava which we judge in the material world. But internally, every single soul is pure inside and is the lover of Krishna. So Swabhavo Adhyatma Uchyate. So Swabhava refers to transcendental nature. Adhyatma Uchyate. Bhut Bhavo Udbhav Karo Visarga Karma Sangita. So third thing which Krishna explains here is the definition of karma. What is the definition of karma? Which leads to the development of material body of the living entity is called karma. Yes, they say now because of karma we are stuck here. We do so many bad activities, we have so many desires in our heart, and someone was saying with each material desire we have in our heart, one material body is waiting for us. So just imagine how many desires we got since this morning. Those many bodies are waiting. So we have unlimited desires, and most of the time, if not all the time, our desires are material. I know all of your desires are on spiritual, mine is not. So we have a lot of material desires, and if you don't purify them in this birth, lot of births are waiting for this particular soul, which is us. So Bhuta refers to living entity. Bhavo Udbhav Karo. Udbhav refers to production. Karo means hota hai, it happens. Visarga Prabhupada writes as creation. So which leads to the material body. That is called karma, which makes sense. So 3 questions Krishna has explained for Arjuna. Akshara is Akshara and Paramam is Brahma, Swabhava is Adhyatma, and what leads to the production of material body is called karma. Now let's move to the next one, which is 8.4. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
So I'm just confused. Is the Brahman we are talking about here, is it the same Brahman which we studied in 7.24, where we are talking about voidism, Brahmavadi, and impersonalism, and all those things?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. So what Brahma we are talking here, as Prabhupada clearly writes, as living entity. So there's individual living entity, that's also part and parcel of Brahma. But the term which we use there, they are used by Mayavadis. Brahman is one, and it cannot be cut into pieces. But somehow, and don't ask me why, that's what Mayavadi says. Somehow this Brahman got split. Say, you know, some Brahman got dropped into the earth. They're covered by mode of passion, and that is the production of a jiva. That's what they call it. So they consider Brahman as a supreme light, Divya Jyoti, Brahma Jyoti, whatever they call it. But here we are referring to the individual living entities, which are Brahma, and they are transcendental, Akshara, and indestructible and transcendental. So there is a difference between these.
So the impersonalist definition of Brahman, so physically, where does it stay? Is it between material creation and the spiritual creation?
Yes, you're right, Prabhu. So they say after the material nature ends, the Brahman starts. That's what they say. As per one definition, there are multiple. So the light you will only see after you have crossed the material. So they also consider, which is a commonality between a Vaishnava and the Mayavadi, you can say, you have to cross over this material world. You cannot go in that world of Brahman as well, which is transcendental, which is beyond the modes of material nature. They also agree. But what we say, this is just the beginning, it's not the end. They say this is the end, that Brahman, if you reach to Brahma Jyoti, that's it. Nirvana ho gaya, moksha ho gaya. But what we say, no, Brahman has a source beyond it and will go beyond it, will not stop there.
Okay. And so, bro, moving from there, so they also accept the fact that there is 14 planetary system, there is higher planets, lower planets, there is
Yes, Prabhuji. And they say this all material, but they call it illusion, we call it temporary. That's a major difference. So we can use this temporary thing in the service of the Lord, and then we can spiritualize these things and go back to Godhead. What they say, you have to just empty your heart from everything else and just meditate on that light, which is practically impossible.
Yes, bro. So one last question.
Sure.
Prabhu, they say, don't they, Brahma Satya, Jagan Mritya.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Prabhu, in 7.3 as it says about Brahma, is that, sorry, 8.3, is that the Brahma, like our Brahma with four heads?
No. It's Brahma. So it's Brahma, and this one is Brahma. So if you read the Sanskrit, Prabhuji, it says Brahma. So Brahma, it's not Brahma. So what we talk about Brahma, Lord Brahma, that's Brahma. This is Brahma. Okay. And that's why we sometimes have to refer back to this Sanskrit words, because English word sometimes can be very confusing.
They look very similar.
Yes, this is Brahma. If you read Prabhu, you read Hindi, I guess. This is Brahma. It's not Brahma. Brahma is Lord Brahma. This is Brahma, the living entity. And Supreme Lord is also Brahma, but what sort of Brahma is Parabrahma. An example, I think Jiva Goswami gives, in a college, there can be many teachers, a chemistry teacher, physics teacher, biology teacher, and whatnot. But amongst those teachers, there will be one principal teacher. That's called principal. He also teaches chemistry, for example. But he is not one of those teachers. He's special. He is principal of the college. So Krishna is Parabrahma. We are Brahma.
Thank you.
Okay. 8.4. Anyone would like to do who hasn't done it? Okay, Vinay Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
8.4.
Yes,
Adibhutam kharo bhava.
Adibhutam sharo bhavaha.
Purushachadhi daivatam.
Purushachadhi daivatam.
Adhi jagga aham evatra.
Adhi yagyam aham evatra.
Dehe deha bhutambara.
Dehe deha bhratambara.
Translation: O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called Adhibhuta, the material manifestation, the universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adidaiva, and I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adivyago, the Lord of sacrifice. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So here Krishna explains the rest of the questions of Arjun. What is Adibhuta? As per Krishna, Sharo Bhavaha. So the previous verse, the word was used Akshara. Also, one thing actually I wanted to just remember in 3. Akshara Brahma Paramam. So I read somewhere or heard somewhere, this is the verse which has named this chapter. So in Sanskrit, the chapter name is Akshara Brahma Yoga. So that word has come from 8.3, Akshar Brahma. Anyway, moving to 8.4. So the word Shara. Shara refers to destruction. So one which keeps changing, Prabhupada, which is constantly changing, which is Shara. So Bhava, the nature of this that is which is constantly changing is called Adibhuta. So what is constantly changing? We know everything around us is constantly changing. Even our bodies are constantly changing. So this is called material manifestation and also known as Adibhuta. Second word was Adhidevata. So what is Adhidevata? So Krishna says, Purusha Adhidevata. So what is Adhideva? Purusha. Purusha here refers to Virat Purusha. Virat Purusha, which we have not read as yet. We'll read later in 10th chapter and 11th chapter. Krishna will describe that Virat Purusha is known as Adhideva because that includes all the demigods. And the third term was Adhiyagya. What is Adhiyagya? So Yagya refers to the principle of sacrifice. So Krishna said in, if you remember 7:30, I am the governing principle of all the sacrifices. Bhoktaram Yekatapsam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. I am the beneficiary of all the yagyas and all the tapasyas. So Adhiyagya, Aham, I am the Adhiyagya. Same thing which he has said in 5:29. Bhoktaram Yekatapsam, he is repeating here. I am the Bhokta of that Yagya. So Adhiyagya, who is that Adhiyagya? I am the Adhiyagya. And the 7th question of Arjun was, where does he reside? So, Eva Atra Dehe. So, I reside in this Deha itself. And Prabhupada sort of expands that. He says, I, the Supreme Lord, represented as Super Soul in the heart of every embodied living entity. So, I reside in the body of every single living entity. And Prabhupada is in the heart. In the heart. And Prabhupada explains somewhere else, in the region of heart. Someone was asking, so Prabhupada, exactly, in heart, we have a left side of heart and the right side. Where does Krishna reside? And he was arguing with Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, this is the region of heart. So it doesn't have to be microscopically located X and Y axis. What is the X, Y, and Z axis to it? This is the region of heart. So Krishna says, Atra Dehe, Dehe Bhratambara. So Dehe Bhratambara. So Deha Bhratam Vara. Vara refers to Var and Vadhu, as we have this word. Var means Shrestha, one who is very unique, very important. So Prabhupada writes as okay. They have of all the embodied living entity, you are the best. So Prabhupada writes, oh, best of the embodied beings, which is Deha Bhratambara, referring to Arjun. Hey Arjun, you are so great. You are so great. You are one of the best amongst the embodied beings. And then he's explaining the other questions. So how many he explained here? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 questions he answered in 8.4. In 8.3, he answered 3. Brahma, Adhyatma, and Karma. So 4 plus 3, 7 he has already answered. Now look at 8.5. Now this one is the direct answer for the last question. Anyone remembers the last question of Arjuna in 8.2? Yes.
How to remember Lord.
Thank you, Mataji, and Rasanan Prabhu as well. So Prayan Kale Picha Katham Geyo. So how do I know you at the time of death? So that question is answered in 8.5. Very important and famous verse. So let's do this one. Madhuri Mataji, would you like
It's a verse to remember, Prabhu.
Verse to remember. Now, whenever devotees will see Rupam Prabhu, he will be seen as a person who is a walkie-talkie of which verse to remember. Thank you, Rupam Prabhu. I think
Just
you have
the verse number, Prabhu.
Verse number. You remembered all the verses, I guess.
I'm saying just the verse number, not
just the verse number. Okay, next one will be asked, do you know the verses? Anyway, not at this stage. We are still doing the exam for the previous module next week. Okay, 8.5. Madhuri Mataji, would you like to do? Maybe she's a little bit away. That's fine. Ujjwalasa Mataji?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Antakale cha mameva
Antakale cha mam eva
smaran muktva kalevaram
smaran muktva kalevaram
yah prayati samadbhavam
yah prayati samadbhavam
yati nastyatra samshayah.
yati nasti atra sanshayah.
Translation. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt.
Thank you.
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
So the question was, how do I know you? So he said, Antakale cha mam eva. So Antakale, everyone understand that word when you are quitting the body, like Ajamil was about to quit the body and he chanted Narayan, Narayan. So Antakale. So what are you doing, Antakale? Mam eva. What does eva refers to? Anyone without looking at synonyms? Certainly. Kalau nastev, nastev, nastev. Eva, eva, eva. Certainly, certainly, certainly. So mam eva, only me. Now you cannot say, what about your Indra version? What about your Varuna version, Surya version? No, Krishna very clear in the very first line. Mam eva, kadam. There's no further discussion. Mam eva, antakale, whom you should remember? Mam eva. Now he could have just said mam. Then people will doubt, maybe mam also means this and that. No, he says mam eva, certainly me. What you have to do with me? Ismaran. What you have to do? Ismaran of Krishna. While muktva kalevaram. Kalevar, Hindi people will know kalevar means the body. Muktva means when you are coming out of the body, which is called antakal. It's the same thing. When you're coming out of this body, when you're quitting the body, what you have to do is smaran. Remember, mam eva, only me, certainly me, definitely me. Now, this smaran is referred to as an activity of mind. Now, activity of your voice you can probably control. Voice means speaking. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu was telling about this verse. He's saying someone can chant Krishna and put a gun on his head and just shoot Krishna and shoot. So it's not saying Katham Krishna, it's saying Ismaran Krishna. So suppose you're shooting, suppose, don't do that, but suppose you're shooting, your mind is where? How much pain this bullet is going to give me. Your mind is smaraning, not remembering, not Krishna, but remembering the bullet and the pain. So Krishna very, very clearly is saying, not speaking Krishna, not speaking about Krishna, which is fine, remembering Krishna. And what do you remember? Mostly what you take shelter of. So if you have watched a cricket, for example, for 6 hours or something, what you will remember after 6 hours? Generally speaking, cricket. If you watched a movie, you will see hero is fighting with a villain. You will also be coming home and in the fighting spirit. Or if a clown in the movie said some dialogue again and again, you'll remember that dialogue and you'll say the dialogue next day to your friends, just to show yourself how smart you are, all those things. So if you take shelter of those things, what will happen in your mind? The mind will remember that. So it says rubbish in and rubbish out. Rubbish in means whatever you have taken in from your senses, from your eyes, from your tongue, from your ears, that will come out first in mind and then to your words and then in your actions. That's why I say your thoughts has to be very, very clear, very, very clear. If you have wrong thoughts, wrong words will come out, and one day words will become your habit, action, and the action will become your habit, and habit will become your character, and character will become your destiny. So if you can control your thoughts, you can control everything. So antakale chamam ev ismaran muktva kalevaram. So you have to remember me, not say about me, remember me. And how do you remember Krishna at that time of death? Once you have practiced throughout your whole life remembering Krishna. Many people say Maharaj Parikshit, when he got the curse to die in 7 days, he went to the bank of Ganga Ji and he sat and he remembered Krishna for 7 days. But how could he would have done that if he had not done the similar activity throughout his life? You cannot unexpectedly, if you have never played cricket, can you unexpectedly one day become Sachin Tendulkar? Come on, maybe Rupam Prabhu is good cricket player, but if he is not practicing, can he just come on the spot and start chakka, chakka, 6 at every ball? You can't do that. Huh? Even Sachin can't do it. Huh? Why? He's been practicing, and then what it comes out in front of our eyes is the unlimited hours of practice behind the scene. Huh? So similarly, we cannot just remember Krishna. One time, Gauranga Prabhu was telling this, I'm just repeating. He went to a college program for preaching and he was telling the story of Ajamil. And he was saying, how Ajamil remembered. He was glorifying the holy name. And towards the end of the class, he asked someone, so who's your role model? Who's your Mahajan? And this boy said, my Mahajan is Ajamil. Why your Mahajan is Ajamil? Maja bhi kiya aur Bhagavad Dham bhi kiya. He enjoyed his life fully and went back to Godhead as well. So our mindset is like that. We want to enjoy. Even as aspiring devotee, we are not yet devotees. Okay, we are aspiring for being devotees. So as aspiring devotee, even in our mindset, predominantly, the bhoga tendency is there. Bhagavad is also important, but bhoga, if you could, why not? Why not? That's why we sometimes overeat, because we have this tendency, acha khana hai. The prasadam is so nice. Are we looking at the prasadam or are we looking at the taste of the tongue? Huh? If the same quantity comes which you don't like, you're like, Nani, Prabhu, I'm a devotee. I just need one chapati. So it's very, very important. This bhoga tendency goes away. Bhoga tendency goes away, and that will not happen just at the last moment, which happened with Ajamil, which happened with, say, you can say Putana as well. Putana went to kill Krishna. Now you can say whole life Putana was doing all the nonsense activity. Now at the end of the life, Putana got Bhagavad Dham. So I will also get Bhagavad Dham. Now they are called Kripa Siddha. So Kripa Siddha are very, very rare. What we are supposed to be as per Prabhupada, Sadhana Siddha. Sadhana Siddha means you constantly practice to serve Krishna, constantly practice serve Krishna. And then the hope is at the end of the life, Antakale, Narayan Smriti will come, Krishna Smriti will come. If you don't practice, if you just think, I'm such a great person, as soon as the death movement will come, I'll just remember Krishna that time. It will not happen. You may die in coma as well. Huh? But what we are supposed to do, we are not supposed to be relying on that kripa, which is sometimes given in the Shastra, like Putana got this kripa of Krishna. But Putana also actually had performed devotion. She was the sister of Bali Maharaj in the previous births. Some people say daughter or sister. She had seen Vamandev. So now who can see Vamandev? Who can be in that position where all the demigods are walking in your assembly? You're able to see them. You are able to see Vamandev. You must be very great. Anyway, so the Kripa Siddhi will not work. What we have to do? Sadhana Siddhi. And sadhana is about remembering Krishna all the time. When you remember Krishna all the time, at least you try to practice that, then you will remember Krishna sometime. If you only remember Krishna sometime, what will happen? You will not remember Krishna, especially at the time of death, because as Padma Puran says, you get the pain of biting 10,000 scorpions at the same time. Now, anyone has experienced one scorpion bite? I have not yet experienced, but if you have, you know how much painful it is. Now imagine 10,000 scorpions are biting your body. Just take the example of, say, Vratasur. Vratasur, when he was fighting with Indra and Indra throws the Vajra, it says Vajra was cutting the head of Vratasur. It took 1 year to cut the head off of Vratasur. But Vratasur did not feel even a single pain. Just imagine if some chakra is cutting your head. What do you speak of chakra cutting your head? A blade cutting your finger, a knife cutting your finger. It was very painful. So now devotees by practice say, oh Krishna. If the finger is cut, they say Krishna. Very nice, very, very nice. But they're not remembering probably Krishna. They're remembering the pain and where's the bandage. And how everyone else can look at me because I am such a great soul. Huh? I've cut my finger in the service of the Lord. Anyway, all these mixed feelings are there. Vratasur could not feel the pain because he was so absorbed in Krishna that even when his head was getting chopped off, which took 1 year, not 1 second or 2 seconds, he was constantly, it says he was already gone. When Maharaj Parikshit was bitten by Takshak, he did not feel any pain. Maharaj Parikshit was so absorbed. Even before the Takshak came, he was back to Godhead. Some people say Takshak only bite the dead body of Maharaj Parikshit. The point which I'm trying to say, these people have practiced Krishna consciousness throughout their life. Then at the end of the life, they can do something very, very, very special. So we should also try to do that. And that's what we are being told by our authorities. We should try to engage ourselves again and again in nice Krishna conscious activities, then the possibility will be Antakale Chamam Eva. We will be able to remember Krishna. And in Varaha Puran, Lord Varaha says to Bhumi Devi, if in Antakal, at the time of death, a devotee is not able to remember me, I will come and make my memory for that devotee. That means Krishna will send devotees for you. Suppose you are in coma and you are leaving your body. Krishna will arrange devotees to come to you and do kirtan so that you can go back to Godhead. So Krishna is very, very kind. So these are the two lines. The next is Yaha Prayati Samad Bhavam. So Prayati refers to goes. Mad Bhavam, he goes and achieves what? Mad Bhava, my nature. Now, my nature does not mean he merges into me. My nature means he comes back to me. Yati, na asti. Kalau nastev. So na asti, atra sanshaya. Sanshaya refers to doubt. In this, there is no doubt. In this, there is no doubt. Vijay Gopi Mataji or Rasanan Prabhu, want to add something?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Like usually we would say like we will reach the abode of Krishna when we remember him, but how, why is it say my nature? Can you please explain more?
Yeah. As Prabhupada said many times, and Rupa Goswami also explains in Nectar of Devotion, a devotee is Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means he is a devotee, he is liberated right in that body. So Prabhupada, for example, and it's a very high example, doesn't have to leave the body to go back to Godhead. Guru Maharaj gave one of the classes in which says, sometimes we say Prabhupada went to Godhead. It is minimizing the position of Prabhupada because Prabhupada never left the Godhead. Prabhupada never left the Godhead. Prabhupada was always into Godhead. Now, physically, we see, Prabhupada also showing the symptoms of a diseased person. He's having difficulties, he's having failures and all that. But Prabhupada is a pure devotee, for example. So this is called Jivan Mukta. So once you achieve the nature of a pure devotee, you don't have to go back to Godhead. You're already in the Godhead. Is it all right? So achieving that nature is more important than physical transportation of your soul there. So if you're a pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj or Dhruv Maharaj, you're a pure devotee. You don't have to go to Vaikuntha Loka to be called as pure devotee. So in material world, you were struggling, but now you are pure. Not like that. So once you achieve that nature, whether you're in the material world or you're in the spiritual world, it doesn't really matter. You are a devotee right there. And then you can say the third verse of Sikshastakam, fourth one. Mam Janmani Janmaneshwari Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahit Kito. I don't want to go back to Godhead. If you desire me to take birth here in the material world unlimited lifetimes, I don't mind. As for what I really want, just to serve you in every single birth. Is that okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Charu Mataji.
Prabhu, two things.
Yes.
One, I just want to narrate a very quickly, real incident that happened with a devotee couple and their child from Melbourne. Probably some of you have heard of it. The child's name is Neerav, and he passed away in India last month in January. So he had gone with his parents to his grandmother's house, and he was having a shower. And in India you have those gas geysers. So the gas leaked, and he inhaled that gas, and he passed out in the bathroom. Parents realized only after half an hour. They had to break open the door, pull him out, take him to the hospital, and he was sort of brain dead by the time he reached there. A 20, maybe close to 20-year-old boy. So the doctors put him on ventilator support from one of the Borivali hospitals. They were moving him to Nanavati. And all the time the child was agitated, but he kept singing. He just kept saying, singing the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He was unconscious totally. The father was saying, totally unconscious, just reciting the Mahamantra. That's all he did, and only responded for that. He said for 45 minutes, the journey took 45 minutes. And for 45 minutes, that's all he did. Then at Nanavati hospital, when they tried to speak to him, who is this? Who is this? I'm your father, I'm your mother. He would not respond. Every time Prabhu or Mataji sang the Mahamantra, so if they said Hare Krishna, the child used to respond by saying Hare Ram, Hare Ram. So that is how much he was conscious. Or he would remember Guru Maharaj and remember and call out to him. So they are Ved Vyas Priya Maharaj's disciples. After about 10 days or so, doctor gave up hope. They said, we need to remove you from the child from the ventilator. You tell me whether you want this to go ahead or not. and they spoke to Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj. And Maharaj, whatever conversation must have transpired between them, Maharaj said, can I chant for your child? And Prabhu actually kept the mobile in front of the child's face, and Maharaj was chanting for 1.5 hours. And Prabhu says the minute, all throughout for last so many days, the child only responded to this. He was unconscious. The minute Maharaj started chanting, they saw after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, his tongue was moving again, and he was trying to recite the Mahamantra. So after 1.5 hours, anyway, they had to remove ventilator support from the child. And then he was gasping for breath. Then Vedvyas Priya Maharaj came on the phone, and he recited, he was chanting the Mahamantra. 3 minutes into the chanting, the boy again just same chanted the Mahamantra, and he passed away. So Prabhu was saying that all throughout, that is, I mean, it's a great loss for me as a parent to lose my child. But all I can think of is that the only words he said all throughout the episode was the Mahamantra, nothing else. And he said on the day of cremation, we were actually, they had to keep his body on the floor and take care of the funeral pyre. So he said 2 people came from somewhere. We did not know him. They did not belong to my wife's family, to my brother's family, or to my family. And they came and they circumambulated the body. They touched his feet and they kept saying, he's a great Vaishnav, and disappeared. And all along, Prabhu kept asking, do you know them? Do you know them? Do you know them? Where have they come from? Anyway, no one knew them. And they just as they had come, they also disappeared. So no one knew who they were, where they had come from, why they had come from, what was the purpose. So anyway, that happened. So he was just emphasizing how glorious the death was, and how this boy only remembered this and Guru and nothing else. So just gives hope that yes, things work. Now, question based on what is said here and what has happened. In Gopakumar's story, we hear that you don't go, even if you remember Krishna, you don't go directly to Krishna. You go to Vrindavan, you spend some time there, and only then you go back, because whatever little bad karmas you have performed, they are taken care of while living in, they are washed away while you're staying in Vrindavan, and only then you go to Krishna. So how do we understand that contradiction? Here Krishna is saying, you come to me, whereas in Gopakumar's story, he actually went there and then he went back to Krishna. This is something I find very, I can't reconcile these two.
Okay. If I've understood correctly, Mataji, so basically saying Gopakumara did not go back to Krishna directly. He went to Vrindavan, he spent some time and then went back to Godhead. Is that right? Sorry, you're on mute, Mataji.
So after his death, he went to Vrindavan. He left his body as Gopakumar. He went to Vrindavan. Then from there, he went back to Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. So the answer, which if I can recall correctly, is given by His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, your Guru Maharaj. So the Guru Maharaj gave a seminar, and I think you were the main MC in that seminar. So he gave this answer there. So I'll try to repeat what Guru Maharaj said. So he said, when we become very, very pious, I'm talking a spiritual piety here, not material piety here. When we become very, very pious person, just some last bits and pieces are remaining. So we don't go to Krishna directly. Maharaj said, we go in the material world, in somewhere where Krishna is performing his Vrindavan pastime, for example. So there you can be a Gopi or a Gopakumara, depending on your consciousness. So there you take birth and sort of finish that one off. So basically, Maharaj said, we are like doing an apprenticeship. You know, your boy goes to university degree, and I think 3rd year or 4th year, they go to a company doing apprenticeship. It's a part of the course. He has not completed the course as yet. Part of the course, but he is allowed to go and play his theory in life. So you go to the corporate world, and 6 months you sit with all these, officials and sort of understand what I have studied is working in the industry. So Maharaj said, this is how the journey of a soul for the spiritual world is. So every single soul does not go back to Godhead directly. What they do, they go to Vrindavan, somewhere in the material world. You know, we are unlimited universes, and there when Krishna is performing pastime, you as per your nature become the part of Krishna Leela. Like also, Mataji, you would be reading when gopis were hearing the flute of Krishna. So some gopis could arrive, some gopis left their bodies, some gopis could not, and all those things are there. So there are different types of gopis. Huh? So some gopis who could obviously arrive, they are the Siddha ones, and the one who could not arrive, they are the Sadhana Siddha one. Huh? So because their sadhana was not perfected as yet, not their impious soul, they're very, very great souls, extremely great. But like, 0.001% some remaining was there. So by them leaving their body, that 0.001% was covered, and they quit every sarva dharmanu parityaja, everything they gave up for Krishna. They become completely pure, and then so it's like apprenticeship, Mataji, which your Guru Maharaj said, if that makes sense.
It does, Prabhu. So then is there a possibility of falling down from there back into the material world? Because that's very scary then.
So technically we can, because Krishna is never going to overrule your free will. So today also you are a living entity, you have a free will, and Krishna respects it. Tomorrow as well, if you go back to Godhead tomorrow, for example, I'm sure you will. So your technically free will is simply independent, but practically Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan, all the acharyas, Jiva Goswami as well explains, once the living entity has tasted the material world, will not again fall back into the material world, because you have tasted. This is going to burn my tongue. No more. Huh? So when it's offered, the thought comes, he said, no, thank you so much. No, thanks. I'm happy without it. Initially, a child has not explored something, right? And the child is very curious. And Mama will say, but there's nothing there. It may be harmful for you. No, Mama, I have to try it. I have to try it. I have tried. Okay, beta, you try. And then after one bad experience, and Mama will say, beta, chahiye, or you want more? Nahi, Mama. Enough is enough. Huh? So practically he can. Technically he can, but practically he will say, no, Mama, I don't want it. So same thing will happen to the Jiva. That's what our Jiva Goswami explains very clearly in Sat Sandarbhas. The living entity who has been in the journey of material world will not come back. Although technically you still are the same soul. Is that okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Okay, let's move forward. So 8.5 was the direct answer to Arjuna's 8th question. Now, once Krishna has given this direct answer, now he'll give a general principle at the same time, because Krishna is very intelligent teacher. 8.6, Rupam Prabhu, is it worth to remember? No, okay. So this is a direct answer. So 8.6, who would like to do that? Anyone? Jai Prakash Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam.
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam.
Tyajate ante kalevaram.
Tyajati ante kalevaram.
Tam tam ivaiti kaunteya.
Tam tam iti kaunteya.
Sada tad bhava bhavitaha.
Sada tad bhava bhavitaha.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So now, as Krishna was saying in the earlier verse, whoever remembers me comes back to me, he attains my nature. Now he is saying, actually, hang on a second. So that's one thing which I said, but let me tell you a general principle as well. So yam yam vapi ismaran bhavam. So vapi or vapu, this word is used for the body. So Prabhupada here, actually, va-api is a different word. Va-api is at all. So yam yam, whatever is smaran, whatever you will remember, when tyajati means to giving up, antakale, similar word is used, kaleva refers to the body, antakale, so when you're leaving the body, and whatever bhava you have in your mind, whatever smaran you have in your mind, tam tam ev iti kaunteya, hey kaunteya, O Arjuna, you will get sada tad bhav bhavita. You will get the same body. So it's a general principle which Krishna is sort of putting after 8.5, that don't think that if you're not thinking about me, something else will happen. No, if you're not thinking about me, what will happen? If you're not thinking about me, you must be thinking about something. So every old man, dies with some thoughts. So whatever thought you have, and the best example is Jad Bharat. I should rather say Bharat Maharaj, not Jad Bharat. Bharat Maharaj, at the time of death, what he was remembering? A deer. And because he was remembering a deer, next body he became a deer. Now, Prabhupada also has written some small books. And one of the books Prabhupada writes, I can't remember the name of the book. I think it's a Second Chance, if I'm not wrong. So Prabhupada there writes, sex change without operation. So in the material world, you know, some people change their gender from male to female or female to male, and they have to go through some sort of operation. I don't know how it works, but anyway, they do it. So they change their gender. But Prabhupada writes, you don't have to do this. If a male, for example, is while quitting the body, is remembering a female, so next birth, you will automatically get the body of a female. And same applies to a female. If she's remembering about a male, so next body she'll remember male. She will become a male. So Prabhupada writes, the nature is doing it. You don't have to do it artificially. Nature is doing it because that's the bhava, that's the thought, this is called the law of last thought. Law of last thought means whatever you'll remember at the very last moment while quitting the body, that's what you're going to get. So yam yam vapi smaran bhavan. And again, re-emphasizing, Krishna is re-emphasizing the point that whatever you practice throughout the life, that's what you will remember. So whatever, if you are practicing just earning money all the time, so at the end of the life, what you will remember about money? One Maharaj was telling a very funny story in Sydney temple once, that one old man was dying and he had, I think, 3 or 4 sons. So when he was dying, he looked at the one son. He said, oh, elder son, you're here, very nice. And then he looked at the second son, he was also there. And he looked at the third one, he was also there. He looked at the fourth one, he's also there. And then he got angry. Now, a person who is dying, looking at his family, usually, you know, becomes relaxed. But he became very angry. He said, all 4 of you are here, then who's in the shop? The shop is unattended. Go back to the shop. So he was worried more about the shop rather than leaving his body. Radha Govind Maharaj tells very nice analogy. He said, in a train, suppose you're journeying from A to B, and in between the journey, you start worrying about this people who are going to get down. So, you know, some station comes, you become friends with, in Indian trains, it happens. You start your journey A, you have 24 hours to travel. So you make friends. But this friend, particular friend, may be not going till B. He may be getting, you know, halfway through. After 12 hours or something, his destination come. Now, when this person is leaving, he is worried about that I am leaving, what will happen to you guys? So Maharaj was saying, basically, when you are exiting from the train, when you're exiting from this train, which is this body, you should be worried about yourself, not worried about the other people. What will happen to my son? What will happen to my daughter? What will happen to my shop and my factory and my house and car and this and that? You should be worried about yourself. So if you're worried about yourself, then clearly this train, I have to leave. That is very clear. I cannot stay in this train forever. So I have to leave. So worry about your destination rather than worrying about the other people who are sitting in the train. So that means you should not worry about other people who are still continuing their journey in the train. Rather worry about yourself, because you are going to leave this train very, very soon. So if you feel that you are going to leave, you got to do something about it. And what you can do at the last minute, you cannot change your mindset. So practice throughout your life for that one goal. And then it might be possible that you are able to remember Krishna. I think in Ramayana, there's a saying, Koti Koti Muni Jatana Karava, Antakal Mukharam na ave. So Koti Koti, after taking many, many births and practicing for many, many births, some munis, some sadhus, they are not able to remember Ram at the time of death. Because I think I'm again remembering Bhakti Charu Maharaj here. Speaking with him, Maharaj, in Sydney temple once, this one-to-one conversation. And Maharaj was, I don't know why, but he emphasized to me one point again and again. He said, I think some devotee was there as well, and he said he's chanting 16 hours. So Maharaj said, but the important thing is, are you able to remember Krishna at the time of death? I clearly remember Maharaj saying, he was sitting in the sofa in the sannyas room, I was sitting probably on the floor. Maharaj was not like appreciating, oh, you chant 16 hours, very nice. Maharaj again and again emphasized one point. The important thing is you should remember Krishna at the time of death, because death is the final exam. That is the final exam. So what you're practicing is very nice, but are you able to pass the exam? Some other devotee was saying, whatever we are practicing is very good, but it's not good enough. It's very good. It's not good enough to go back to Godhead. So we should remember that, not just become a complacent devotee, 16 round, okay, I go to temple sometime, I put some donation in the hundi. Very nice, very nice, very nice. It's all good. It's not good enough to go back to Godhead. So whatever is good enough, we should endeavor to do that. And that may mean we have to stretch our boundaries, stretch our boundaries. Okay, so let's go to the verse 7, 8.7.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So is it okay if my mother does it?
Yes, please, please, please. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu.
Mamas nusmaram yudhya cha.
Mam anusmara yudhya cha.
Mai arpita manor buddhir.
Mai arpit mano buddhir.
Mam vaishyasya sanshaya.
Mam evaishyasi asanshayah.
Therefore, Arjun, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So in 8.6, Krishna explained a principle that whatever bhava you will have at the time of death, that's the bhava, that's the body you're going to attain without fail. Now, it may be a very scary statement that, wow, if I don't remember you, I'm going to go to hell. So Krishna sort of reconciles 8.5 and 8.6 and he says, but there is a solution. What's the solution? Tasma, therefore, Sarveshu Kaleshu means obviously while you are living, Sarveshu Kaleshu, all the time, Sarveshu Kaleshu, not only on Janmashtami day you go to temple, you remember Krishna, only one time in the morning you bow down to Krishna, which is again very, very nice. But Sarveshu Kaleshu, Tasma, Sarveshu Kaleshu, don't be scared from 8.6. Tasma, therefore, Sarveshu Kaleshu, Mam Anusmar Yuddhecha. So Anusmar refers to Ismaran Muktva Kalevram. So remembrance, and Anusmar refers to Madhuri Mataji, remember? Anusmar and Smar. What's the difference? So there's a Smaran and one is called Anusmaran. Rag, Anurag, Chintan, Anuchintayan.
Yeah, Prabhu. It is, Anu is like in a positive way.
Yeah.
Deep. In a spiritual way. Yeah.
Spiritual, deep. Vision as per Shastra. So sometimes, you're looking outside. And what are we looking? We are looking trucks and cars and other things. And Prabhupada is looking outside. He's looking trucks, but he's trucks which can be used for Lord Jagannath Rath Yatra. So one is called looking, one is called Anu. So one is called remembering. So Darshan. So Darshan and Anu Darshan. Darshan means Dekhna, just to see. See means external forms we are seeing. Anu Darshan means real seeing. Real seeing means Jara, what is that verse? Anyway, I'm forgetting that 13th chapter verse. What are the four different? Anyway, so there's a darshan and anudarshan. Darshan means to see. Anudarshan means seeing as per Shastra, seeing with the real vision. Oh, I'm a jiva. I'm dying. I'm getting old. This is called darshan. And this is called anudarshan. And darshan is you look in the mirror. Mirror, mirror, who is the most beautiful of the world? And everyone, puts some cream and whatever makeup in their body and think, actually, I'm looking so great. I'm ready to go. Yes, you are ready to go. Where? Hell. So this is called darshan. Anudarshan means, oh, I'm getting old actually. Maharaj Darshan looked in the mirror. He got one gray hair. And as soon as he saw one gray hair, he called Sumantra and said, oh, Ram has to be put on the throne. I'm an old man. Now imagine how many gray hairs we have. I have a lot actually. So when we see the gray hair, Chaitanya Prabhu was saying, we immediately find out where is our hair dye. Darshat Maharaj did not look for hair dye. Darshat Maharaj looked, I am old, just one hair he saw being gray. This is a time for retirement. I have to go. I have to go for full-time service to Krishna. Not that sitting on the throne till the time someone shoots me. So these days, that's what happens. If someone shoots you, then only you come out of the chair. Otherwise, you keep sitting in the chair. Anyway, so Anusmaran. So Anusmaran means deeply remember Krishna. As per Shastra, this is what the reality of life is. And while you are doing Anusmaran, what you should do? Yuddhacha. So what does Yuddha refers to? Now, we are not going on any war field. We are all working people, for example, or some household mothers are there. So we're not working. But what Yuddha refers to? Our prescribed duties.
So whatever varna or ashrama you are in, you all have prescribed duties. So while remembering Krishna, you should perform your prescribed duties. Many times this question comes, I'm offering the result to Krishna, like you go and earn some money and then you give a part of that money to Krishna. That's fine. That's a very, very nice activity. But is that enough? Krishna clearly responds. Clear response in this one is, no, that's not enough. So just doing your duty is not enough. That is called karma yoga. Karma yoga means you get some, you do some karma, you get some fruits and you offer the fruits of action to Krishna. That's fine. But that is post-action. When you have done the activity, you offer something to Krishna. That's nice, but that's post-action. But bhakti is called pre-action. Like a simple example, a mother will cook a sabji which his kid, her kid like, isn't it? He'll say, what my Guddu will like today, and then you'll cook that sabji, isn't it? Or after making the sabji, you'll say, "Are khale jo mila hai," just eat what you have. Does any mother or father does like that, especially with the small kids? The mother will always remember, my little son or my little daughter likes this sabji or this pakoda. Today, let me make. I'm remembering Kittu as well. So Kittu's mother sitting here will, oh, my Kittu likes it. So for Kittu's sake, she will go in the kitchen. Maybe it's very hot summer or maybe very cold winter. She'll go in the kitchen, make nice pakoda, nice hot dosas, or whatever. Do you do that, Mataji? Or you do other way? Mila and Kittu will say, Mama, I don't like this. You know I don't like it. Arey, prasad hai, kha lo. This is prasad. Which way is better?
I will cook, Prabhu. I'll cook what he asks.
Isn't it? So
Yes,
you know your kid's mindset. My kid like this and dislike this. So anytime a love comes, love means service comes, you like to serve as per the liking of the person whom you are serving. Isn't it? It may be service to your mother, father, husband, wife, kid. If you want to please them. And if you want other way, you just cook them and then say, eat what it is there. So karma yoga is like that. This post-action, but bhakti yoga is like pre-action. So you meditate. What my Krishna will like, let me do that activity like that. Let me dress up like that. Let me wear dhoti and kurta and tilak and kanti. Decorate myself. For what purpose? Krishna likes that way. Let me cook and offer everything to Krishna. Let me make my house as a temple because Krishna likes that way. My Guru Maharaj likes that way. Devotee like that way. So bhakti is a pre-meditation, not a post-action activity. So this is a huge difference. And Krishna is saying, Mam Anusman Yudacha. You do your duty. Krishna is not saying, give up all your duty, go to the jungle. No, Krishna is not recommending. You're a mother, you can look after your kids, you can look after your house, no problem at all. You're a father, you're allowed to earn money in a nice, honest way. That's all okay. But what sort of mentality you should have? Mam Anusmar Yudecha. And then Krishna says further, Mai Arpit, you offer me what? Mano Buddhir. You offer me your mind and intelligence. Because with the intelligence only you make different plans, isn't it? Plans for enjoyment or plans for service. So you offer that to me. When it's gone to Krishna, it's sold out to Krishna, your buddhi is sold out to Krishna, your mind is sold out to Krishna. What else is remaining actually? You've given everything to Krishna. But Yudhyacha, prescribed duties, we should not come out. Chaitanya Prabhu says many times, you cannot prematurely quit from your responsibilities. Prematurely. Not everyone can take sannyas. It's not possible. And there's no need for that. And if you do that, Mam Evashasi Ashansha, you will definitely come back to me. So it's such a strong verse, very beautiful verse. Basically, if you summarize it, you give your mind and intelligence to Krishna. You remember Krishna with Shastric vision, with Chakshu of Shastra, and follow your duty. And how often you have to do that? Sarveshu Kaleshu, all the time. You cannot do that, no problem. You practice makes a person perfect. And the next verse is talk about the practice. We'll do the next verse and then we'll stop. 8.8. Who wants to do that? Okay, Madhuri Mataji.
Abhyasa yoga yuktena.
Abhyasa yoga yuktena.
Chetasa nanya gamini.
Chetasa anya gamina.
Paramam purusham divyam.
Paramam purusham divyam.
Yati parthanu chintayatam.
Yati partha anuchintayan.
Translation. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Pada, is sure to reach me.
Thank you, Prabhuji. In the previous verse, Krishna has put output 8.7 again. So tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmaridya. So mam anusmar is not an easy thing, huh? Constantly remembering Krishna while doing your duty. We all have emotions, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, many times negative as well. Huh? How can you remember Krishna? So Krishna tells, Abhyas Yoga Yuktena. Anyone remembers a similar verse in the previous chapter? Everyone know that?
Abhyasena tu kaunteya.
Vairagya grahya. So if you want to get vairagya, renunciation, real renunciation, what you have to do? Abhyas. Huh? Nothing comes without abhyas. Sachin Tendulkar is Sachin Tendulkar with the abhyas, with the practice. Any good singers, I don't know, many, say Sonu Nigam, they do practice. Any sports player, they do practice. So devotion also will not just come one day. Sankarshan Maharaj said, the sky will, split into two, and the lightning will come. You will touch the lightning, and you hear you're a devotee. Nothing is going to happen like that, huh? Nothing. So what you have to do? Practice. Abhyas yoga yuktena. What you have to do? Abhyas of yoga. Now here, obviously, yoga refers to serving Krishna. Yuktena. If you are yoga yukta, if you are doing constant practice, and chetasa na anyagamina. Na anyagamina means jana, to go. Your chitta, your consciousness is not going anywhere else. It's constantly engaged in Krishna. What will happen? Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati. Yati refers to achieve. You will definitely achieve Paramam Purusham Divyam. Achieve that Divya Purusha. And how you will achieve Krishna? Re-emphasizes the word Chintan. So Chintan, Anuchintan, Rag, Anurag, Smaran, Anusmaran. So Anu, wherever the Anu comes, is very deep, realistic doing that activity, whatever the word comes after Anu. Huh? So Anu Chintan, don't just do Chinta. Oh, I'm going to die. How I'll pay my mortgage, how I will do this and how I'll do that, who will look after my kids, this and that. No, you have to do Anuchintan. You say stop Chinta and start Chintan. Huh? So Chinta, worry. There's no end to this worry. So stop Chinta. And what you should do? Chintan of Krishna. How can I become better devotee? Now, practically, you may have to do deal with the word. You have to do a few things, but that's fine. But don't worry about it. What you should be worried about? Becoming a devotee. How can I become a devotee? How can I become a devotee? How can I become a devotee? Because once you become devotee, you will be able to handle the worldly things in a much better way, rather than not being a devotee and become expert in handling the worldly mundane problems, because those problems have no end. Huh? Not that you should not try to solve them, but the point is, if you become devotee, you become Krishna conscious, you are able to solve those problems in a much better way, and you're able to please Krishna. So what's the answer here for 8.7? How do you do Anusmaran? Abhyasa yoga. Keep practicing. I'll read Prabhupada translation again. One who meditates on me as a supreme personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated. This is very important. Chetsa na annigamna. Ahetuki apratiyata. You should not stop your devotion. Sunday I'm a devotee, Monday I'm a karmi. Not like that. Huh? Sunday also you're a devotee, Monday also you're a devotee. You're in a suit devotee or a dhoti devotee. That doesn't matter. Your external dress is not so important. It's important, not so important. You can go to office, but Anuchintan of Krishna should continue. And then what will happen eventually? Paramam Purusham Divyam. You will achieve that Param Purush eventually. Okay, I'll stop here, 6:14. If there's a quick question I can take. Or everyone is just happy. Thank you. Finish the class. Okay, so let's stop here. Next week, we'll start from 8.9 onwards. And if you have questions or something to share, we can take it next week. And again, repeating, 7 o'clock onwards, we are dedicating tonight's Kirtan for His Holiness Kadam Kanand Maharaj. So if possible, please come and join the Kirtan. If not possible, please pray wherever you are for Maharaj well-being as soon as possible. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhagavad Gita ki jai.